All right, now it is another pleasure to have you join us this afternoon on our program on TV, African Discourse, every Monday at about this time. My name is Evan Sunokugie. You're welcome on board. Now, on this program, we look at issues on the continent of Africa and, of course, how better we can reposition them for our betterment as Africans. And, of course, how do they affect us? What can we do to see that the development of Africa remains top in our minds? Well, today on the program, African Discourse, we're going to be looking at something that has become so noticeable, talking about foreign aids into Africa. Well, it will amaze you that for an onward of about 3 years now, Africa has known a kind of a depletion of foreign aids into Africa. Now, some of the information that we have is that in recent years, foreign aids to Africa has witnessed a significant decline, sparking concerns among policymakers and development experts and communities that rely on this crucial support. One of the largest recipients of U.S. foreign aid, Sub-Saharan Africa, is now facing a brutal cult and funding which raises questions about its effects on the region's development and stability. And if we are to follow records, we're told that in 2001, Africa received 64.8 billion US dollars in aid from donor countries. Then in 2003, there was a decline, a reduction, and the figure became 60 billion US dollars only, and including less than 20 billion US dollars from the US. Then in 2024, the US foreign aid declined further, now becoming $12.7 billion only. So you can see how this foreign aid into the continent over the past 3-4 years has been declining. So today on the program, we're going to be looking at a whole lot of issues concerning this, very bad development, you may want to say, and how best we can get out of it as a continent. Well, to look at all this this afternoon with us, we're so privileged to have two gentlemen with us here. And it is a very rare privilege to have these two gentlemen because they are eggheads when it comes to policy issues and developmental issues, especially as it relates to the continent of Africa. Well, please join me to welcome Mr. Derek Uhwago, who is joining us virtually this morning from Benin. Mr. Derek, good afternoon.
A very good afternoon to you,
Okay.
viewers. Thank
Okay.
you, Evans, for having me.
Okay. And also, all the way from UK this afternoon, we have a legal luminary, an egghead, somebody that knows his onions when it comes to policy development and, of course, issues that relates to politics, Africa's development, Nigerian politics, and all that. Please join me to welcome the erudite Peter Owaibi. Mr. Peter Owaibi, nice to have you this afternoon.
Yes, nice to join you.
Yeah, Dr. Peter Owaibi. Yeah. All right. So nice to have you, Doctor.
Bless you. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm very much around you.
Okay. All right. So let's start with Derek Uhwago. Now, Derek Uhwago, just like what I noted, I mean, the trajectory, for the past 3 years now has, seen a kind of a reduction in aids that we get from foreign countries into the continent of Africa. Now, as an African and perhaps as a policy development expert, how does it strike you?
Well, no doubt its negative effects in the short run is quite very harsh on our people at the moment, no doubt. Nigerians have become too over-reliant on foreign aids from the United States through the Agency for International Development of the United States of America, and through the European Union, and even the Paris Club and IMF. In as much as these foreign aids are useful for the development of countries that receive them, but the templates for which these foreign aids are designed, or the memorandum of agreements for which these foreign aids are, tailored, can be very, very beneficial or detrimental to the receiving countries. Since the 1950s, Nigeria and several African countries have been receiving foreign aids from the Europeans and the Americans. And in the beginning of this journey, aids from other countries of Europe and America were in the form of foreign direct investments to aid our industrial sectors in production, manufacturing, assembly, and processing of our produce and natural resources, which gave rise to companies like Leland that produced or assembled earth-moving, equipment, trucks, and what have you. We had foreign direct investment in the form of companies like Michelin, Dunlop producing tires, supplying to all parts of Africa. We had the Ezad battery that was also producing vehicle batteries, supplying countries in the whole of sub-Saharan Africa. All of these countries were domiciled here in Nigeria. We had the Volvo. We had textile industries in the north, like Kaduna. We had a lot of factories. We were processing our natural resources and our farm produce. And most of these companies that were involved in this industrial sector were multinationals, were international companies who had the goal of becoming a multinational company by investing in Nigeria due to our population. We had the manpower, we had the raw materials, and what have you. So
Okay.
it was a win-win situation for everyone.
Okay.
But eventually, this shifted from foreign direct investment into consumption products in health sector and education in the form of vaccines and drugs. And that is where we got it wrong.
All right.
In the beginning, it was beneficial, but currently, with the influx of vaccines that we know little or nothing about, with the influx of food and agro products that we also have in abundance here, that we know little or nothing about, like the GMO that is now being introduced, to Nigeria. I don't think currently foreign aids are so beneficial to Nigeria. And in the long run, we have to do away with it. So I'm glad now that the Europe and Americans are beginning to roll back their foreign aids to Africa and Nigeria, because this might be the beginning of a very good, thing for the Africans and Nigeria in particular.
Okay.
That's the way I feel.
Okay, all right. So we'll pause you now. Dr. Peter Owaibi, you are so concerned about the development of Africa, even if you are not a resident in this continent right away, but you are an African. Now, the argument that we really don't need these foreign aids anymore if Africa is to develop is one argument that a lot of persons are supporting, just like Derek Derek is one we're supporting now. But help us to make sense. From your own point of view, what do you think is responsible for this decline of these foreign aids that we are talking about, say, for the past 5 years?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, most prolific broadcaster, Evans. You see, when you are looking at certain issues, you first of all analyze the potentiality of its positivity and, of course, of its also negativity. So we're looking at both sides, for instance, before we come into the benefits of positivity and the benefit of negativity, both intertwining together, to form the concept by which you are going to come into your conclusive analysis. Now, let's look at it from this point of view. The international countries have now come, or the 8 countries have now come to deplete the African support in terms of aids. and mostly the countries that, like for instance, the UK, the United States, and most of these agencies come from these countries. The UNICEF, the Red Cross, and all sort of agency that comes to AIDS in Africa. But now the countries, for instance, the UK is cutting AIDS to Africa by over 40%. And that means there's going to be a reduction of benefit from the African countries that are enjoying this AIDS program to Africa. Imagine cutting 40% of your livelihood suddenly. It definitely will have negative impact, and it may take time for you to overcome this the deletions of its usual benefits of support you are getting from this AIDS. And look at it from this angle. The UK, they practice this criminal kind of democratic government. It is not like a government that has not the people's input in it. So, but the people are now, the people of the UK and the people of the United States are now coming to tell the government, to chart a different judicial course of support to African countries. Now, one of the major reasons, which is maybe unexplainable or decisively connoted, or quoted in a form of a diplomatic acceptability, is that the aid that they are giving to Africa is not of any benefit to the reason for the implementation of these aids. The basic reason for giving aids to Africa is to forestall certain activities. For instance, to foster economic immigrants, to foster health immigrants, to foster devastating immigrants. The men, people, that like are distracted from conflict zones. So they rather give you aid in your country so that it will cushion the fall of Africans' reliance in terms of flooding or flushing all of their problems back to the Western world. So they give you certain aid and it helps you in your country to create employment. Because we have a lot of NGOs in Nigeria, yes, and in Africa in general, that these aids are sustaining. Even the refugee camps in Sudan, the refugee camps in Nigeria, in Borno, displaced residents from the catastrophic effects of militants. These refugees are mostly sustainable by the aids given by these international countries. It is, for instance, now the Borno camp that has over 3,000 of displaced citizens. Those camps are being fueled and sustained by AIDS. Now, if they remove these AIDS, these people are going to go hungry. The camps will not be sustainable anymore. Those blankets, those feeding allowances and all will automatically stop. But you see, the countries are now thinking. They're thinking that, okay, you give aid to Africans, but this aid don't generally go down specifically, in conclusion, to the persons or people that needed it or needs it most. Instead, sometimes, the philosophies apparently and the underlying reason for it is totally defeated. You find that these aid don't get down to the people anymore. I'll give you one quick example. During the time of COVID, the international world came to give aid to the less privileged and most vulnerable citizens of the world, of course, which Nigeria is one, but they are claiming that they have a COVID problem in Nigeria. All the aids they gave them internationally, which were called palliatives, they are hoarded. These palliatives did not get to anybody. They were hoarded by politicians. These very corrupt politicians hoarded it and used it for political campaign. Now, the foreign world is aware. They have diplomats in our country. They have representatives in our country, high commissioners in our country, ambassadors in our country. So they know that when you give these aids to help the people, the executive politicians and the representatives, the National Assembly men, Do not allow it to get down to the purpose. So purpose is defeated in one
Okay.
hand.
All right, Doctor. I'll pause you so that I'll bring Derek Nwango into the discussion one more time this time. Now, Derek, just as Dr. Peter Waibi opined, that we should also consider what may be the implications of you know, maybe this declining AIDS coming to the depletion of AIDS coming to Africa and Nigeria. You know, recent studies just reveals that Boko Haram insurgency, perhaps in some parts of northern Nigeria, has increased because of the depletion of this foreign aids. Take, for example, most IDP camps in the north are set to get their daily feeding from this aid. Now, if we want to suggest, if we want to support that this aid should actually stop, don't you think it's going to further throw the region, the African region, into insecurity issues? Because a recent study has also shown that a lot of youths, you know, now make themselves readily available to Boko Haram insurgents in the north because they're really not getting this foreign aids anymore. So if you are of the opinion that it is okay for the foreign aids to be depleted and perhaps stop, the consequences, can we afford to handle it at this time?
In the struggle for freedom, a wise man must persevere, because in our challenges, we will find the roadmap to our success story. No good history is without perseverance. And the history of Europe is also not without suffering and perseverance. Go and look at the history of Europe and how the revolution came, and how those who were perceived to be the middle and poor classes of Europe were drifting to America to find greener pastures. You know, so, but today, say for countries like China, they are the ones who are. We must embrace change, because one thing that is constant in life is change. And when this change of depleting and a total halt in foreign aid eventually comes, then we should be ready to, you know, take our future in our hands. Also, don't forget that these aids from Europe and America are like Trojan horses, you know, which is not actually a free gift. It's a great gift, but it's not actually a free gift, because it comes with a lot of caveats. In Nigeria and Africa have been subject to policy changes to the detriment of our socio-economic and political landscape, because our leaders continue to go cap in hand to ask for aid or to receive aid from Europe and America, who are also those that are exploiting our mineral wealth for their own sole benefit. Like I said in the beginning, foreign aids were useful to Africa, but our leaders, maybe due to negligence or greed or ignorance, you know, refused to leverage on those foreign direct investment that was coming into Africa, which made Nigeria an industrial hub of sorts. Because in the past, Nigeria was a production hub, not even comparable. China wasn't even comparable to Nigeria. You know, in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s, China was nowhere to be found. The made in Aba products and goods were comparable to Taiwan. As at that time, China was nowhere to be found. You know, it was as a result of poverty in leadership and as a result of shift in policy of international communities of Europe and America through by investment.
All right, I think we're having audio issues there. All right, so if you can join us one more time, Derek Nwango, it's okay, you join us so that we'll continue from where you just stopped. Now, quickly, before we go for a short pause, Peter Waibi, now it is somehow difficult to really understand the reason why this foreign aid? Is foreign aids are depleting? Because when we talk about foreign aids, most times to Africa, U.S. seems to be in the center of it all. And just recently, perhaps it's only in this administration, for the first time in a long while, talking about the administration of President Donald Trump in the U.S., that we're even noticing that these foreign aids are depleting. So despite the fact that there are reasons for the depletion, so how do we really, look at all this? President Donald Trump, a president that is saying U.S. first, after U.S. no other people, no other country and all that. And we're also talking about these reasons why these foreign aids are, have been depleting over the years. So help us make sense, about it one more time. Peter Owabi.
Yes, you see, the undertone and the under reason for such an action is very glaring. The Americans have told British people, the UK, which are major, support of this foreign aid, that there should be depletion of African aid so that they can rechannel the funds that they were giving to Africans to increase their military budget. They want to increase their defense budget. The aid to Africa usually was maybe about 0.05%, which was like 0.13% of their GDP. Now they have decided to use their funds, 40% cut to Africa, to develop their military strength. And of course, to use more money to support Ukraine and Gaza, the effect, the devastating effects from the war, persistent war taking place in Gaza and Ukraine. They want to channel their funds to it. And Africa has become less prioritized because, one, they believe that the African executives, who are the recipients, to the downtrodden people of Africa, are the ones that mostly benefited from this aid. So, until they are able to put that one in perspective, they will not give Africa all that money or aid that they are giving to them. Now, remember, the aids are not mostly in terms of cash. The aids also come in terms of facilities, like giving the children the vaccinations, the facilities that will propel structural development even in Africa, and also to control their health program, and of course to avoid nutritional problem and nutritional devastation among children, health for children, UNICEF, health for women. So these are how the aids come. Medications, treatments for devastating epidemics like HIV and AIDS. These are all where the aids are targeted to create a lot of succor. And now they feel that Africans are mismanaging the aids. And the World Bank and the IMF also are not doing the African side, because they are also lending this money that is given for aids with very high interest rates, which does not come down to alleviate the sufferings of the people. The aids are meant to alleviate sufferings, not to bolster the riches of the members of the executive or the legislative arm or the very corrupt judicial arm. No. But you will find that these things are now being misdirected to the areas where the effects are not more felt. So they decided not to continue with it. Okay. America, Donald Trump agreed that, 90 days suspension.
Dr. Owabi, we need to take this pause now. We'll take a short break so that we get you to say some of the major headlines that we are following at this time. So when we return, we're going to be asking another question that bothers whether it is actually fair for these aids to be depleted or stopped, because there is an argument that says that majority of the natural resources that the Western world needs come from Africa. So Africa is being paid back by means of by way of giving this foreign aid. So if this aid stops now, how will Africa be paid? That's one question that some analysts are asking. We'll be right back. Just stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. The program still right on your television, African Discourse on ITV. Now, we've been looking at the depletion of foreign aids into the continent of Africa. What are the reasons and how we can really go? Now, just as we have said that some of the reasons border on concerns over aid effectiveness. Then we also have other arguments that says that domestic priorities in donor countries, just as what Dr. Peter Waibe was trying to say earlier on, that these foreign nations, they have their own pressing priorities. So they rather use the foreign aids, whatever they give as foreign aids to develop their country rather than, giving it to Africa. Then we have shift towards private sector engagements. Then corruption and mismanagement is one major issue that Dr. Peter Waibe has talked about. Then emerging geographical political shifts, just as Derek Umar was trying to enumerate a while ago as one of the reasons why there is a depletion in this foreign aids into Africa. But viewers are there. Let us quickly ask this question. And I'm going to be asking Derek Umar. Now, the argument that some persons are following is that Africa is where more than 80–90% of natural resources that these foreign nations use, they get it from Africa. Take, for example, this recent interest of the United States of America in the Democratic Republic of Congo. I mean, the crisis there, though, is still on, but we saw Donald Trump recently how he's trying to mediate between the DRC and Rwanda, trying to settle and all that. But we've also seen that there is an interest because of the natural resources that the DRC has. That's why Donald Trump is so interested in what is going on in the DRC. But give us your insight more on whether it is actually fair enough. I mean, if, the resources are being gotten from Africa, and one of the ways that Africa perhaps can benefit from, this Western world is to get their support. So if they stop this foreign aid now, is it fair enough? I mean, they keep on getting the natural resources from Africa, and Africa does not get anything in return. Is it fair enough?
Well, earlier I mentioned how foreign aid, to Nigeria and Africa was as a result of foreign direct investment in the past. So that was foreign aid. Countries like Japan, China benefited from foreign aid in the form of FDI. It was as a result of the economic intervention in Japan after the Second World War, where Hiroshima and Nagasaki was bombed to kingdom come, that Japan became an industrial hub in terms of production and assembly today. And due to the laziness of the American folks and the high cost of production and overhead costs in industrial process, the American investors took production to China. And China, in their wisdom, were able to catch in on the boom and develop their own industrial sector. That is a form of foreign aid. But what Africa and Nigeria gets as foreign aid today is handouts in terms of dollar and pounds, and in terms of medicines, and maybe some food products, which is like giving someone fish instead of teaching the individual how to fish. So, I'm not against foreign aid in its entirety, but I'm against this, servitude kind of cap-in-hand approach that African leaders are putting into reception of foreign aid. It is wrong. It is demeaning, and it also tends to, rid us of our dignity as a people and as a nation. So the kind of foreign aid that the Western world are willing to give today is not beneficial to the African people. Take it or leave it. It is not beneficial. If they want to go back to how it was in the beginning, where Nigeria was, because we were producing had a lot of products, because the Europeans and Americans were genuine partners with Nigeria and Africa. That was how we were able to develop the Kanji dams and a lot of other things that was powering our sector. And remember, it was also in that era that we started to develop our rail system. But all of a sudden, because of policy shift, in the Western, and due to Western imperialization, they become very hostile, in terms of their imperialistic, approach. And so because of that, they started, muscling these industries and these investors to go back to their country. Instead of processing the raw materials here, they decided to be exporting those raw materials to their countries. And that is what is going on today. And today we are saying China have a better partnership, to Africans than the Americans and Europe. In the beginning, Europeans had a better approach than even what China is offering today. China is only doing this because they know that there's competition. They want to be seen to be better than Europe and America. And eventually, China is not different from these people because China are also exporting our raw materials to produce finished goods in their country and in turn import them back into Nigeria and make massive profit. So yes, it's not entirely bad to receive foreign aid, but it is the kind of foreign aid that we receive that is not good for us, and we must reject it in all its entirety. Okay. Remember that we are not the only oil producing country in the world. We have the Qataris, we have the UAEs, we have other countries in the Middle Eastern bloc that are producing oil. But why is it that it is Nigeria whose ownership of its oil is with the ExxonMobil and Chevrons and Mobil and what have you? Okay. This is something that people like Muammar Gaddafi rejected in Libya that cost his life eventually after so many years. These people are very proactive people, and they have plans for the next 100 years. And we should have leaders who have quality leadership, who have something upstairs to be able to match, these people's sagacity. If not, we will remain where we are. And we must stand up for what is right for us and our people, instead of we, having this kind of mentality of now, what will benefit us now. We should also be proactive. We should have plans for the next 50 years, 100 years, just like the American, Europeans, and Chinese.
All right, Derek Wago.
And that is the bedrock of the development that they are enjoying in their countries today.
Okay. All right. So, Dr. Peter Owabi, now, just as what Derek Owango said a while ago, that in the 60s, China was on foreign aid, but it got to a time that they had to look inward. And of course, they said to themselves that, hey, we need to stop this thing. And China locked themselves inward, and they looked into their country. And hence, China became a country that is enviable, among League of Nations, even giving foreign aid to other countries of the world. Now, in Africa, take for example in Nigeria, we have so many nations in Africa. Nigeria is one of them. Let's come home a bit to Nigeria. How and where do we really start from when we have to maybe take a kind of a swipe at the Chinese model? Where do we start from? Are we going to start fixing it in terms of leadership? Are we going to start fixing it in terms of economic approach? Where do we start from, Dr. Peter Owabi?
Well, you see, I'm of the opinion that this Brady's self-egocentric assumption that Africa is so blessed with natural resources and natural minerals and stuff. I mean, it's okay, but it's a kind of it's an assumption that is deceiving, that is so deceptive. If you look at the countries of the world that have natural resources and mineral reserves and what have you for wealth, Nigeria does not even come in number 10 or even 15. They're looking at Russia. Russia has more natural resources. America has more natural resources. China has more natural resources.
Yeah, but Dr. Peter Owabi, if you say America has more natural resources, the question we ask is why they are interested in Africa. As we speak now, America is so interested in DRC. I mean, it's Central, African country. So what is the interest in Africa if they have these natural resources?
Now they have it, right? First of all, they have it. The interest in Africa is that the primitivity of Africa is that they don't know, first and foremost, on how to utilize the gifted natural resources that they have in the first instance. Africans would never have known that they have oil, but for the Western world. Africa would never have known that they have gold, but for the Western world. And in any case, if Africa knew they had gold, they would never have known how to mine it. They would never have known how to make use and have economic benefit from it. So you see, it's like they say God has given to those who know the value. It's like we have it, but we don't even know the importance of it. As it was rightly pointed out just now, ExxonMobil, Chevron, and the rest of things, Shell, and the rest of things are the ones mining our oil. Now, we give all our oil blocks. 90% of our oil blocks are given to northerners, individuals. Natural resources, you are giving it to individuals. What are individuals going to do with it? They just sell it because they are not going to mine it, they are not going to reproduce it, they are not going to preserve it, they are not going to exploit it. They can't even exploit it. So the exploitation and the exploration is based on the strength of the Western technology. So it's one thing to have it, it's another thing to know how to utilize it to give you some kind of economic benefits. But even outside all of that, you see, the Western world, they are so educated by way of, their resources being implemented to their economic advantage that we in Africa are more interested in wasteful and consumption spending. We are not into productivity. These countries you are talking about are into productivity. I give you an example. When Nigeria went to borrow money from UK several years ago, they went in private in their own country's jets, sitting down in the airport there to borrow money from UK, from the Cameroon, yes. But the Cameroon said, okay, you are coming to borrow money, but
Okay, Peter Wabe, Doctor, we need to take this break now. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. We need to take this break. All right, thanks for being there on the program African Discuss. Now, Dr. Peter Wabe, we'll just allow you bet your points. You were talking about the importance of the resources that we have in Africa that perhaps we do not know their value. So may you continue now.
See, so if you have gold and you don't have need or you don't have the value, then it's like you don't have it. And you see, what the Western world is doing is they are capitalizing on the ignorant greediness of our leaders. Our leaders are excessively greedy. They are out to emasculate the general masses. And the international world are looking at it from that point of view. Now, this thing we even call AIDS. It's a form of bribery to these African leaders. They bribe these African leaders with all these AIDS so that they can become relevant, and the contractations and the contracts will be given as to this Western world as priority, as against Russia and China. So the Western world comes with AIDS all the time to African nations so that they can become relevant in their constitutional development, infrastructural development, and policy development. Don't forget that it's the UK that gave us the laws of our constitution. When they were living, they made the constitution for us. Although they themselves are not using the constitution, their constitution are not embedded. So, but they give you this aids and bribery, and then you make them priority in terms of distribution or award of your contract. So in any case, when they now remove these aids, from Africa, there'll be a lot of economic crisis because Africa has learned to be dependent on the aids.
Okay. All right. America. So we'll pause you there because of time. Now, Derek Ohuango, give us your own opinion on where we can start from. I mean, we've seen the China model, the Chinese model, how they went inward. And of course, as it stands today, they are, admiration of the world. So Nigeria, maybe, or other countries in Africa, where should we start from in, doing away with all these aids, standing on our own? Where do we start from?
Well, before I answer that question, let me correct some erroneous assertions of Dr. Peter. First of all, it was not as a result of corruption on the part of African leaders that the aid inflow from the Western world is depleting. No. It is majorly because of three factors. Number one, they are shifting their priorities, that's the Western world. Number two, because of their own economic challenges. And number three, because of, they want to focus on their own domestic affairs. And all of this, if you want to sum it together, as a result of their own challenges in their socio-cultural and economic situation.
Yeah, but the question we asked to that,
the question, the way forward for Africa, I will answer it.
Okay.
Then secondly, when he said we are egocentric in terms of trying to assert that Africa or Nigeria have natural resources and that we are not even up to 15 in the table, go and do your research. Nigeria is about the third largest country in terms of natural gas deposits. We are about number 6 in terms of crude oil deposits. We have like 80% of Colombia, of production in all over the world. We have gold, we have all that it takes to be self-sustaining. So we are not saying this because of arrogance. We have what it takes. Then you also said that Nigeria or Africa, don't know how to mine gold. This is not true. The history of gold mining started from Egypt and Mali. Go and do your research. Egypt and mining. Africa is where it is today because of neo-colonialism. Everybody is trying to survive. So Europe and America will do whatever it takes to keep us perpetually poor so that they can continue to rise. It is a very classical policy, in self-actualization and development. And I give them kudos for that. And we are only victim to all of this because of poverty of leadership. The only problem that Nigeria and Africa have today is leadership, poverty of leadership. If we get our leadership right, everything will fall in place.
Yeah, the question we asked is that how do we do that? How do we get our leaders right?
Check this out. Check this out. It is as a result of this leadership crisis that a lot of our brothers are in diaspora today. To get our leadership right, go and look at the history of Europe. Is it France? Is it Russia? Name it. They had a revolution. The country needs to. Revolution is in different phases. Yeah. So don't be amazed, Evans.
Okay.
Don't
okay. Now, Dr. Peter.
You will have your time. You will have your time.
But what press of time now? Yeah.
Recently, Nigeria. Allow me speak. It's my time. When it is your time, you will speak. When it is your time, you will speak. Revolution is in different phases. We can no longer have the kind of revolution that they had in the old. It's not possible anymore. But the kind of revolution that we require today is the revolution of ideology. Like what we are doing here today. If we continue to, hammer on the need for Nigerians to change their mentality, for leadership to sit tight and engage the international community practically.
All right, Derek Owango. Yeah, because of time.
That there is need for them to leave a lasting legacy behind.
All right,
for
Derek.
children yet to come, and to be proactive. For proactive vision, they say is the beginning of strategic wisdom.
Okay. All right, so Dr. Peter Waibe, I will just allow you 30 seconds. 30 seconds, then we'll wrap it up for the program today. Dr. Peter Waibe, 30 seconds.
What I'm saying, I don't come into under the connotation of bogosity. My assessments are not bogus. They are subject to fact change. I just said earlier on, if anybody was listening, I said that these countries are looking inward after their benefits first before they look outward again. One, they are financing Ukraine and Gaza. They are cutting their expenditure and to Africa because they want to develop their military strength. So if you heard me correctly, I did not say that they are doing all of these things because of Africans. No, I said they are interested into their internal.
All right, so we'll pause it there, gentlemen. We'll have to pause this discussion today. We'll have to stop it there because of time. I mean, we have another program that is coming up in another 5 minutes' time. So some of the facts finding that we have is that the reasons why we have this depletion of foreign aids into Africa is because of domestic priorities in donor countries, like what the analyst said. They also have the reason that has to do with concerns over how effective this foreign aids are. Then shift towards private sector engagement, then corruption and mismanagement, emerging geopolitical shifts are also some of the reasons why these foreign aids are being depleted. So I want to say a very big thank you to my two erudite gentlemen this afternoon, Dr. Peter Owaibi, the legal luminary, joining us all the way from UK via Zoom this afternoon. And so to a big brother friend, Derek Uwango, very erudite and very spontaneous in his responses. I want to say thank you so much for joining me on the program today. So until same time next week, by the special grace of God, my name is Evan Sunokuge. Goodbye and God bless you.